So far, Mononoke Park has a history of producing games that have been positively received, albeit with just 2 games released under the same IP. The first installment garnered overwhelmingly positive reviews, setting a high standard for its sequel, Slime Rancher 2. However, the reception for Slime Rancher 2 has not reached the same level thus far.
You're worthless.
This led me to ponder the reasons behind the negative reviews for the sequel. It is important to note that the game is still in early access, so reviews may evolve over time. Additionally, the reviews I am about to discuss present a variety of opinions, each with its own valid points. Please restrain from attacking the individuals whose reviews I'll be sharing. I'll be examining 6 different negative reviews, and then I'll share my overall thoughts on whether these criticisms are justified or not. If you prefer to skip ahead to my analysis, I will provide a timestamp for your convenience. Let's get ranting. While in the past I would have recommended the game, recently either corporate greed or corporate incompetence has reared its ugly head at Mononoke Park, and I don't trust the direction of the game or its studio. Recently, the developers of Slime Rancher reached out to the creator of multiplayer mods for Slime Rancher 1 and 2, one of the franchise's most influential community members. This was the first time reaching out to this modder ever, and Mononoke demanded that the modder make their already free and open source mods free because someone did not read the mod page. After that was pointed out, Mononoke still tried to strong-arm the modder into stopping a closed beta for the Slime Rancher 2 multiplayer mod. As for the game itself, this sequel loses a lot of the charm and magic of the first game and ends up feeling bland and samey. Despite fancier rendering and graphics, I suspect that the devs are putting too much effort into trying to make better without understanding why the first game works so well. This game fails miserably as a sequel because it does not expand on the formula of the original in any meaningful way. In all my 30 plus years of gaming, I can honestly and with zero doubt say that I have never played a game that feels more like a carbon copy of the first game than Slime Rancher 2. You can go out into the starting area and you immediately start seeing the exact same slimes as the starting area of the first game, with 1 or 2 new slimes thrown in max. After that, it is business as usual. You gather your slimes, you gather your food, and you put them in the same exact pens as the last game, with the almost same exact upgrade as the last game. There is no added depth or difficulty to reward returning players. I put a focused 3 to 4 hours into this game because I thoroughly enjoyed my first playthrough of the first game. But that, I realized very quickly, was nothing felt novel in the game. 3 hours in, things need to feel different to justify someone buying the second game instead of just playing the first one over. Halo 2 added dual wielding and online multiplayer. Pokemon Silver and Gold made an entirely new roster of Pokemon and only recycled a small handful of the favorites. A good portion of the Pokemon that were seen returning were given baby forms, new friendship evolutions, or special evolutions. This game feels lazy for not having followed the example of the sequels that came before it, and it leaves the game feeling dull. 2 things they could have done was A. Add co-op, or B. Expand on what slimes merging with other slimes means for the game. It seems almost criminally stupid to me that this game does not have some form of co-op. I don't feel like I need to expand expand on why. So I will talk more about the other thing I feel would be expanded on. I had this in my review for the first game, which got a thumbs up from me for anyone wondering. But the fact that slimes can eat other slime plorts and it makes a hybrid is neat at best, and not really useful at worst. I think this mechanic is a wasted opportunity. I recognize that no dev wants to deal with the hundreds of combos, but there needs to be a system that encourages experimentation. Perhaps some combos are stable. Perhaps some combos are clearly stable. Perhaps some combos are only stable after they have been fed a specific food. Perhaps some stable combos produce unique plorts that you need for making even rarer slimes combos. Anything that would take this from, oh, that's neat. So anyways, back to whatever I was doing, to, oh, that's actually cool and useful. I wonder what other combos are going to be used long term. Right now, the only reason to make a combo I can think of is when you are low on plants for a specific slime and you have only got food for a different slime, so you make a combo so you can get the plorts you need. Very niche and very shallow. As a bonus suggestion, this game could be amazing if it had PvP. I would love to see what games a creative team could come up with, and given that this game is already popular, they would be also to hit the ground running. Unlike some really fun PvP games I have played there that was dead on arrival because no one knew about them. So that's my review. There are 3 suggestions that I think would make this a worthwhile sequel. Until then, my advice is just replay the first game whenever it's been long enough, or buy this game on a big time sale when that day comes for you. I absolutely love Slime Rancher games, and this one had a big potential. Unfortunately, the devs are not so cool as they send people after modders. Until the attacks stop, I cannot recommend any other games. I will edit this once they start respecting the modding community. I absolutely love Slime Rancher 1. The characters were likable and memorable. The world felt balanced and unique, and there was a genuine sense of adventure and mystery. Slime Rancher 2 was none of those things. Firstly, the world starts out feeling like the first game, but quickly proves unmemorable, with different biomes all having different themes, but somehow not standing out from each other. The storyline is almost non-existent, progressed by little buts you find, like absence notes from the first, but lacking any depth or motivation to find out more. The technology tree feels clunky and awkward to unlock, and I have beaten the game as much as can be completed at this time, but still have lots of major upgrades I simply have not found the upgrades materials for somehow. Overall, I can say it has potential, but it's somewhere near the same caliber of games as the first. As of this moment, I have been out for 2 full years and still is in a very early access state. You should pass and simply replay Slime Rancher 1 instead. I would like to preface this by saying one thing. If you enjoy Slime Rancher 1, you will probably enjoy Slime Rancher 2. With that out of the way, I would like to warn that the game is truly not in a state to justify its current price tag. We are over a year in, and there have been updates fewer and further between than the first game. Well, I am sure the finished product, whenever that ends up being released, it's going to be a wonderful experience. I am currently experiencing a lot of buyer's remorse and would still opt to play the first game over this by a landslide. It is heartening that after around 6 months of radio silence, the game got an update consisting of just a weather system and 2 slimes from the first game. My trust in the development team is wavering, and I fear it would be several years before the game is at a state where the pace justifies the content. Is the game bad? No. Is the game new? Kind of. There are a few new slimes, new areas, but all the gameplay mechanics have yet to be improved upon in any way. The graphics are prettier, but besides that, it truly just feels like unfinished DLC for the first game rather than its own identity. I am not ordinarily one to bash small studio games like this, but communication from the team was non-existent for all of 2023, and I feel the current review ratio does not aptly articulate the state the game is in at the moment. It likely will get better, but if I could go back in time to when I purchased this game, I would absolutely hold off on buying for another 2 years. I am so deeply disappointed with this game. I used to love Slime Rancher so much. I played every update as soon as I could, dug through all of the story from NPCs. I even used to help out in the Xbox group thing. As the sequel is now, I just cannot get back into it. There's almost nothing new. Some new relatively plain slimes, missing old ones, no automation, no mini games, story, and nothing fun to sink your time and money on, like decorations for your ranch or echoes or such. There's no progression in the game anymore past a few hours of exploration. And worst of all, there has been so little visible progress on the game from Monomi. Last updates was a weather system with some old slimes and new music. The update before that was one big new biome that felt rather lacking in content progression. I used to read the forums and developer account on Twitter every day to see little hints of what's coming up in Slime Rancher 1. Now it seems they're just talking about the weather update and that is it. I used to absolutely love the studio game, but this is just so very disheartening to see. I hope they will eventually make this game into one even bigger than the first. But for now, I absolutely cannot recommend you buy it. What I'm understanding are two things why for mostly the negative reviews are controversy and recycle mechanics. I have heard little about what happened to the development of the multiplayer mod. For the studio to shut down the mod's development is within their right, but it does not sit well with many fans. Mods often help extend the shelf life of a game, and the concept of co-op for Slime Rancher has been a topic of discussion since the first game. While the developers acknowledged it, stating that it's not their priority but would consider it, I personally believe there could have been a compromise with the modder, perhaps inviting them to assist with the official co-op when the game is officially released would have been a way to express gratitude for the community's commitment to spreading the joy of Slime Rancher. Fortunately, the multiplayer mod is open source, so interested players can still find it online. As for my overall thoughts on the rumored actions of Slime Rancher against the modder, I don't have enough conclusion information to form a judgment. If the studio did pursue legal action against the modder, they have every right to protect their intellectual property. However, demanding the shutdown of an open source project raises questions about the studio's approach. The last point involves around the reuse of gaming mechanics from the first game, and I have to agree with this statement. While the phrase "don't fix something that ain't broken" holds true, it would be refreshing to see more diversification in gameplay. Currently, Slime Rancher 2 feels like a refresh of the first game with a nice coat of paint and a new setting. However, with time, the game may gradually form its own identity. Just like in Slime Rancher 1, the story was not completed until its official release, with expansions added over several years. So in a way, Slime Rancher 2 is likely facing similar challenges. The Gadgets My Way update is a step in the right direction for gameplay freedom. Since the game is still in early access and we're expecting 2 more updates later in the year, it is possible that future updates will diversify how we play the game. And that is it, dear Ranjit. What do you think of these negative reviews? Do you think they were helpful? Do they have good points? Share your thoughts down below and please be civil. Like always, stay weekly.